Oh, hello YouTube. Today on The Naughty Librarian, we are recapping episode 7 of the Mayfair Witches, and I've got to admit, I am discombobulated at the moment. I just got home from the used bookstore, and I was walking along, and I saw an end cap for James Bond books, vintage ones from the 60s, and I audibly gasped so hard. Like, they had so many, and I bought all of them. The only ones that got left on the shelf were because I had a duplicate of the book in the stack I already had. So yeah, I bought the entire end cap. I also felt like the person at the register was a bit taken aback, but I bought them all. So I'm kind of still riding like that James Bond vintage book high, but we're gonna change gears. We're going into Mayfair Witches episode 7, and you know what? Episode 6, episode 7, pretty darn good. I feel like the show is finally getting its shit together. The first 5 episodes, not that good. A lot of moody vibes, not really a lot of plot. But 6 and 7, action, things are happening. I'm actually kind of getting into it. And next week's the finale. It's as soon as it got into it, it's kind of over. But regardless, we're going to talk about episode 7 and what specifically happened in this episode. So like all the rest of the episodes, there's a lot of jump cuts in between different storylines, and there's 3 main ones. There's Rowan, Cyprian, and Tessa. So I'm just going to try my best to condense the storylines together for the sake of clarity. That being said, let's go into Rowans' story first. So Rowan's out for a nighttime walk, just doing her thing, and she's like, owie, I got a cramp. So she sits down on a bench and she starts using her powers. Why do I have a cramp? Guess what, y'all? She's pregnant. She's pregnant with Cyprian's baby, and immediately part of my soul was oh no, they're gonna do the full-grown man baby scene. I'm not gonna go into specifics on that because spoilers, but I did do a whole video explaining the full-grown man baby scene. So we're just gonna skip past that. But yikes, I don't know how they're gonna film that. But Rowan has some questions about this pregnancy, and she needs to ask Lasher, but she doesn't have Lasher anymore since the transference, wink wink. So she goes over to the Mayfair house and she's like, hey, maybe I'm gonna go ask Tessa. Tessa can ask Lasher about the pregnancy, etc. Did Lasher make this happen? What's going on? And so Rowan's just waiting for Tessa, and I feel like there's some clues going on here because she sees rose petals on the ground. And that's peak Lasher behavior, but they're fake. They're fake rose petals. But you know what the real thing is she finds? Chocolate cake, she wanted in her fever dream she had with Lasher. So all of it's kind of suggesting I don't think this transference worked. I don't think Tessa has Lasher, and Lasher doesn't have Tessa's back. So Tessa's mother, she comes downstairs and she tells Rowan Tessa isn't home, she didn't sleep in her bed, and she's not even particularly worried about Tessa. She's like, don't worry about it, I texted her, she'll text me back whenever. Oh my god, mother of the year, everybody. She just doesn't seem to care that her 16-year-old daughter is missing. But Rowan, she just ate mystery cake at this house, so she's getting a little morning sickness. She runs off to barf. And when she gets back from barfing, apparently Jojo had a premonition about Tessa being tied up and in danger, and no one can find her. Finally, people are going oh wow, Tessa's missing. We should care about this. The family's all calling in all these different members and people who could help them, and Rowan tells them about how Tessa came to her a few days ago telling her about these witch hunters online and how she wanted to fight them, and she probably went off and picked a fight with them. Likely this is what happened. She tells them what she knows. However, the whole family just decides to blame Rowan for Tessa's disappearance. It's your fault she went after them because you didn't go after them. Putting blame where blame isn't really necessarily due. However, Cortland, he's the one that finally asked, the $1 million question here. If Lasher isn't with Tessa helping her and he's not with Rowan helping her, where the hell is he? This is the big question no one's answering. We will find out later where he is, but we'll put a pin in that until we get there. So the family calls in a scryer to come help locate Tessa. And he needs blood from like a close family member in order to be able to use his scrying bowl. So Tessa's mother, she provides some blood. However, it doesn't work because Alicia frankly has too many children. And quick book note on this, a lot of people, and myself included, have assumed that Tessa is supposed to be a stand-in for Mona MAYFAIR. And I think this just confirmed it because Mona's mother's name was Alicia. So I'm like, I'm pretty sure Tessa is supposed to be Mona MAYFAIR. However, the other thing is this Alicia in the show has multiple children. So maybe we haven't met Mona yet, but we do meet one of Tessa's younger sisters. So I don't know. I don't know for sure, but like it's definitely that area of the family. But like I was saying, Alicia's blood didn't work because she has too many children. It's not a close enough connection. So Rowan, she steps up to the plate. She's like, use my blood. Because wherever Deirdre's heart is where they're going to be keeping Tessa. And I'm like Deirdre's only daughter. It's going to be strong as shit. So Rowan gives some blood. Scryer tries again. And boom, finds her. They know exactly where she is. So the family starts making big plans to go find Tessa. And they also want to do it as discreetly as possible because they don't want to draw undue attention to like the witches in the family. They're trying to put together a whole plan. But in the midst of the planning, Dolly Jean finds out that Rowan is pregnant. And Dolly Jean tells Cortland that Rowan is pregnant. So as the family starts leaving to go search for Tessa, like Cortland, he stops Rowan and he grabs her and he's like, you have got to call Lasher. You got to do it. And this is just feeling really off to Rowan. And she's like, you need to take your hand off me, bro. And she uses just like an ounce of her power just to like trigger some of his ALS to back him off. And he backs off immediately because, you know, Rowan is scary when she wants to be. So Rowan leaves to go help with the investigation, the search for Tessa. And Cortland, he like gets on the phone. He starts calling someone. He's like, hey, guess what? Rowan's pregnant. You need to take care of this. And guess who's on the other side of the phone? It's Cyprian's boss from the Talamasca. Gasp! Like there is something afoot between Cortland and the Talamasca. They are heavily implying that there's ulterior motives here. But on that bombshell, we're gonna stick a pin in Rowan's story from now. Let's find out what's been happening with Tessa since the last episode when she was captured by the witch hunters. So the witch hunters just have Tessa in a cage in a warehouse and they have been torturing her, and a creepy coroner, like, I know his character name is Keith, but like, I don't care. I'm gonna keep calling him Creepy Coroner because he's a creepy coroner. And he's keeping guard of Tessa. But mind you, he has a very inappropriate crush on Tessa. So he ends up taking her gag off so he can like ask her questions about like other witchy stuff he's seen in movies. That's really the only experience he has with witches. And Tessa tries to use her power to glamour through voice alone. And it doesn't seem to be as effective because she's trying to get him to open the cage, but he's able to like snap himself out of it. So obviously it might be a combination of things where maybe she needs direct eye contact and a voice isn't enough, or maybe, you know, she's been tortured for hours, so she might just be a little low energy. One of the two. So since Tessa is a literal captive audience, Creepy Coroner decides to use this time kind of as his therapy session, and he's complaining about his female boss and how she makes more money than him, even though it's really him doing all the work. And then she goes out for dates all the time, and he has to work because no one wants to date him because he's not handsome, you know, like bullshit like that. But Tessa, she's smart. She's like gonna use this to her advantage, and she still has enough power in her voice alone to glamour him a little bit into taking off her blindfold. She's like, no, take off my blindfold so I can see your face. And so he does, but once the blindfold comes off, oh boy, she hits him with the full whammy of her power. But she's like, no, I see you. I think you're totally handsome. In fact, you should open this cage so, you know, we could be closer together. And it's like working and he's about to do it, but someone calls him from up top and the spell is broken. Damn it, worst timing ever. But he has to go upstairs because Arlo, he's given his witch hunters their big pep talk about how they finally have a witch, and soon the whole world will see this and think that they're super cool or whatever, because like they killed a witch and witches are real. And it's like, oh my gosh, bro, the whole world is going to see this, and just know you tortured a 16-year-old girl, because most people don't believe in witches. Oh my word, like the thought process here is not well developed. But whatever, they don't care about, you know, obvious plot holes. They're just gonna keep going forward. So they decide that they're gonna go old school with this one, and they're gonna burn a witch. However, they need better fuel because they're like talking about different fuels to use, and apparently like they only have gasoline, but that's gonna leave bones behind. And like really like the most obviously stereotypical Southerner guy, he's like, don't worry, I know where to get thermite. And he leaves to go get thermite. It's like, wow. But Tessa is finally really starting to despair at this point because she's been kidnapped and tortured and she's locked in a cage. She can't really use her powers to escape. And she keeps trying to call Lasher, but no matter how many times she calls Lasher, he doesn't listen, he doesn't show up. She's alone. And everything just keeps getting worse for Tessa because the witch hunters come back down. They take her out of the cage only to like truss her up to get ready for the witch burning. And like Tessa's trying her best here, any means necessary. So she's talking to the only woman in the witch hunter group. She's like, hey, woman to woman, what the fuck? Like, let me go, please? Like, are you cool with like doing this to another woman? However, it's no use because this woman has a serious grudge against the Mayfairs because the warehouse they're in was owned by the Mayfairs. It was a factory, and she worked at that factory for a long time. And then they closed down the factory, and she lost her job, and she lost her health insurance when her daughter was like halfway through chemotherapy. So yeah, she has a serious grudge against the Mayfairs. Like, did Tessa do any of this to her? Nope. But she's the only one there. She's gonna take out all of that aggression on Tessa, who really doesn't deserve it. And on that note, let's put a pin in Tessa's story right now and check back in with Cyprian. So as of the last episode, Cyprian, he's trapped in a magical memory. He can't get out because the pendant's no longer in his hands. So he's just stuck in Suzanne's time. He's in a burned down wreck of a village. No one can see him. He's literally just like a ghost there. He starts hearing like the healer woman's voice, and he follows it, and he finally is able to hear it clear enough to hear her telling him that he's trapped in this memory and the key's no longer physically with him. So the only way out is he has to go find the key where he is, and maybe it'll be like a portal back. So he's like, okay, plan, I got one. Where's the witch hunter guy? Because like that was the last place he saw the key. He was knocked out by the time Lasher gave the key to Suzanne. And so he's off to look for the witch hunter. It's not gonna do him any good because like there's his burnt up body. Like he's not gonna find him. However, Cyprian does run into someone who can see him along the way, and it's Flurry, Suzanne's sister, and she tells him that her sister wants to see him. So she brings him back to like their house. And Cyprian finds Suzanne there. And like Suzanne is very mild at this moment. She's not really she kind of has empty eyes, I guess, but she's like letting him get at the pendant. She seems to want to help him. But we find out the reason for this is because Lasher shows up. Apparently Lasher has been hiding out in a memory this whole time. That's why no one can find him. This is Lasher's memory that Cyprian is stuck in. And Lasher's like, oh, you stupid bitch. You thought I was just gonna let you go? And Lasher's just having a ball threatening Cyprian. He's telling him that, you know what, you've already served your purpose because Rowan's pregnant, which is exactly what I wanted. I just needed you to put a baby in her. Which is book accurate. Lasher had manipulated Rowan's life, and also, Cyprian is a stand-in for Michael, and he had also had a hand in like ushering Michael's life in certain ways where they would connect with each other and be able to create a baby together. This is all Lasher's grand plan. Lasher and Cyprian, they have a whole back and forth argument here about what's best for Rowan. And somehow, you know, the irony of two men debating what's best for a woman who can make her own decision seems lost on both of them. So, all right, what do you think's best for Rowan? Let's not ask her. Cyprian, he wants to take care of Rowan. He wants her to be happy. He wants her to be safe. Lasher sees this as trying to domesticate a lion. He's like, how dare you try to make Rowan small? I want her to be powerful, and I'm gonna help her be powerful. However, Cyprian has a great argument that Lasher only really wants Rowan to be super powerful because it's gonna make him more powerful. And Lasher's counter argument to this is, so fucking what? It's like, yeah, she's gonna be more powerful and it makes me more powerful. Like, I don't see the problem here. And you know what else, Cyprian? When it really comes down to it, when she's in her hour of greatest need, she's gonna be calling my name, bro, not yours. Oh shit, Mr. Steal Your Girl has entered the fight, and it's time to start throwing punches. So, Cyprian, he's finally stopped being, the poet here. He's gonna throw some punches. But you know what? Lasher doesn't fight fair here. He's not gonna have a fist fight with Cyprian. He just decides, you know what? I'm gonna head out this memory. Sucks to be you, Cyprian. Who knows what's gonna happen to you when I leave this memory? You're just gonna be trapped here forever. Bye. And he leaves. And it hurts Cyprian, obviously, because this is his anchor to the reality he's in. It hurts. But Cyprian's not one to take this laying down. He rallies and he looks outside, and it's just literally a void. And he's trapped in this fragment of a memory. Cyprian still actually has the contents in the house. What is here that he can use to his advantage? So he starts going through all the tinctures and the potions and the herbs around the house. And he finds a bottle of henbane, which is super poisonous. But, he doesn't really have a whole other choice here. So he grinds it up, makes it into a drink, hopes for the best. And luckily this gamble worked out because he wakes back up finally. He snapped himself out of the memory by literally dying in it. So he's back at the Talamasca, but he has shit to do today. So he gets up, he rips his IV out, he's going after Rowan, she's in danger. Unfortunately, though, he is interrupted by his boss, who's in league with Cortland for nefarious purposes. So the boss is like, you're going after Rowan because she's in danger? I'll drive. Get in the car with me. And at this point, my heart just sank because I'm like, if someone else hurts Cyprian, I will riot. I love Cyprian. So I was at the edge of my seat for this scene. So his boss, he's just driving him along out to the middle of nowhere, and he stops the car and he gets out. He's like, Cyprian, we need to have a talk, bro. This is the Talamasca. Our whole goal is to observe the supernatural and record it. You're not supposed to step in and fuck shit up. This is not your job. You're too close. Guess what? We want Rowan to call Lasher to see what happens. She's going to be fulfilling an ancient prophecy and doing this. We want to see what fucking happens here. Step off. And oh my goodness gracious, is Cyprian upset by this. And this scenario kind of checks with the books. The boss is obviously a stand-in for Stuart Gordon of the Talamasca, and I'm not going to get into all of it because it's kind of spoilery, but basically he has a hidden agenda within the Talamasca to find it's a species of human called a Taltos. He's looking for some of those because he wants to breed them and make a whole bunch of them. But, I'm getting ahead of myself, and there's a lot of spoilers there, so we're just gonna put a pin in that for a minute. Let's get back to Rowan and Tessa, because right now, their plot lines are gonna intertwine. So Rowan, she's on the road to find Tessa. Her map is telling her to turn left, but a raven appears on her dashboard, and she's like, you know what? Ravens have shown up when I had magic before. I'm gonna follow the raven. And the raven actually does help Rowan. It leads her to the warehouse where Tessa is. And things are getting real bad for Tessa real quick because the witch hunters, they have the pyre ready to go. The witch hunters' whole goal with this burning is that they're trying to get Tessa to demonstrate her powers on camera so they have physical proof of this. Mind you, her powers are invisible. They're glamour. Even if she uses them on camera, it won't show. They're just wasting their time. And so the whole way they're gonna force her to prove her witchy powers is threat of death. They're like, all right, use your powers or we're gonna burn you. Tessa is remarkably resilient for a 16-year-old. She doesn't ever give up her secret. She just says, I'm not a witch. She refuses to tell them she's a witch. She's not a witch because giving away that secret is just basically sending witch hunters to her family. So in a last-ditch try for help, Tessa just starts screaming, like maybe someone's around and will hear. Guess what? Rowan's around. She hears Tessa scream. She goes into the warehouse and she starts exploding witch hunter heads. Like, she gets the thermite guy right away. She gets Arlo right away. Like, and then there's just one bozo who was holding the tiki torch and he freaks out and he drops it. And then, like, the fire starts. And, like, creepy coroner is, like, going, oh, no, I surrender. Because he's so fucking pathetic that, like, Rowan just lets him leave. She's like, get the fuck out of here. So he, like, runs off. But the woman witch hunter is still there. And she grabs Arlo's gun. And, like, it's like a face-off, her and Rowan. And it kind of happens at the same time that she shoots Rowan in the shoulder as Rowan uses her powers to make her head explode. So, you know, she's dead. Rowan's shot. Oh, no. Things have, like, escalated very quickly here. Rowan, she gets back up, she rallies, she rescues Tessa from the pyre because it's literally burning. And as they're escaping, Tessa, she's taking off the pendant. She's like, here, you take this. I don't want this anymore. You obviously should have it. She's like giving back, you know, the inheritance to Rowan. And it's right at this moment that creepy coroner decides to show back up for the fight, and he grabs the gun and he shoots. And it manages to get Tessa in the neck. And, like, Rowan can't fix that. She got shot in the neck. So Tessa, she's just bleeding out. And she tells Rowan to not let them get away. And since Rowan can't save her, she starts going out for revenge. And she starts calling down Lasher to go fuck up a coroner. And then, boom, credits. Ah! It's such a good cut to credits. It's like so much is happening. The building is literally burning down and Rowan is going full revenge story at this point. She's calling Lasher to fuck up a coroner and I'm like here for it. So overall, I thought this episode was like exciting. It had like good plot elements. It was driving the story forward. Things were happening. I kind of enjoyed it. Thought it was pretty good. And you know what? I was also partially right in my prediction because last episode I predicted Lasher was definitely orchestrating a lot of this, and like by staying away this whole time, he's allowed her to get to the point where he's forcing Rowan's hand into accepting him because now she needs him. However, I was kind of bummed out that my other prediction didn't come true because I thought we were going to go down a whole trip through MAYFAIR memory lane with like Cyprian, and he would have to go through all the MAYFAIRs in order to get back to the present. But no, didn't happen. But maybe they're saving like more MAYFAIR history for future episodes. Who knows? So overall, this series is finally starting to get good, and there's only one episode left. So, God damn it. But I will be back next week going over the season finale of MAYFAIR Witches. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you have any predictions about how this is going to shake out? Are you excited about how action-packed these last 2 episodes have been? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like. And if you want to see more videos, make sure you subscribe. And if you want cool exclusive content, including early access to videos and a book club, you can consider becoming a channel member or a patron. Links for that are in the description down below. And on that note, I will see you guys soon. Goodbye.